The third day promised the longest day in the saddle. It was 100 kilometers with 2.7k of elevation. Remember that number. I must admit that I cut the corner here. Yes, you can hear it right. Someone came here without knowing what he's doing and just pretended to ride MTB. Well, probably he was a bit surprised by what he found in the trails. A funny thing happened before the stage. The start was at 7:30, meaning that there was no possible ways to pick up the bib number in the morning, so you had to do this in the evening. The third stage was also for marathon, meaning that people could register only for this single day event, and they did. Apart from 300 participants, less than 300 from the trophy, there were more than 1,000 who registered for only a single day. And one among those thousands was Antoine, about who I will cover a bit later. The start was stressful because we didn't know exactly how it's going to look like. Half an hour before the defined time frame, we were already near the gates and it was a bit messy, but after the kickoff, we went full gas ahead into the fields of free edges. I don't know exactly how many participants were allowed to go in the first batch, but were a lot of them, and once the track narrowed down, there were some piles and jams. Didn't even change over 5 kilometers of distance, where on the first steeper section were already jams. I must admit that I cut the corner here. Yes, you can hear it right. The thing here was that I noticed that there's a lot of people pushing their bikes uphill, and I saw one guy cutting in the significantly steeper section, which I decided to also try to do, considering that I was confident that I'm going to do it, but it was significantly steeper than that path. And apparently it was kind of closed by the tape, but the personnel was kind enough to take it for us, and we managed to overtake quite a lot of participants there. But remember this year, because on the 5th day it will be a different story there. Apart from race coverage in general, I always try to see whether there is some tip I could share with you, and one of those is free speed. If you coast downhill and you can see that in front there's uphill, you should still pedal. You don't coast down, do not put any power to your pedals, simply because it just stops you moving forward. If you add additional power during the descent, of course, if it's doable to do that, because sometimes you are risking to do pedal strikes, etc. So if terrain allows you to do so, do that and reap the benefits of free speed. The course itself, considering that it's 100 kilometer stretch, was great. There were ups, there were downs, there were single tracks, all sorts of type of terrain, so I can't say enough about how good the race course was. And remember I said that this probably is a bit mainstream event? Well, I was wrong. Reason being, terrain is real unforgiving, so if someone came here without knowing what he's doing and just pretended to ride MTB, well, probably he was a bit surprised by what he found in the trails. Some took even 10 hours to finish it, so you can imagine how demanding it was. As always, there are onboards from the races full duration, not the case this time, but this time it was purple numbers. Whenever you see the onboards from Rock d'Azur, be aware that if the number starts with 11, that means it's from trophy.
If you are walking, you're moving away.
If the number is anything different, they are riding not stage race, and that's how some people were just flying through you without even looking back, because they've been doing majority of those only single day events. So it's a bit of different thing to do full gas single stage versus full gas 5 stages. After about 55 kilometers, I realized that it's going to be a long day in the saddle, and I'm not going to have enough battery for the whole duration of the race. I'm carrying power bank alongside, so I stopped the camera and only started it when I saw that potentially there's going to be downhill. So I did that a few times here and there. The main reason why I'm trying to avoid this at any given cost is that then I start and stop and start and stop the camera. What it does, it just destroys the timestamps. Even though it's 13th GoPro, it's not capable of maintaining the timestamps, which is for 2024 is nonsense at its best. But that just means that I will have a harder time preparing the onboards to make sure that the data syncs, which in those cases has to be done manually, which I don't like doing at all, but that's what I do in order to make those onboards look good. It took me freaking plus 6 hours to finish the stage. And remember I said that it was 2,700 meters of elevation? No, it was more than 3,000. So I was extremely disappointed by this. You come mentally prepared for one thing. All right, there can be 100 more, 100 less, but more than 300 more, that was a bit too much to swallow. And also it's worth mentioning that I was expecting to go maybe 5 hours, 30 minutes or so. Accordingly, I took that much of nutrition to cover that distance. Yep, that was mistake number nth of the day. Thankfully, in the feed stations were some gels, which I took, which I never heard in the past. Then you come prepared for 5+ hours, then you get 6+ hours. Well, who can you blame? Only your legs. But the legs did pretty well job, and I was wondering what might be wrong with it. Even though then sometimes managed to catch me, I was not able to stay with them, and eventually, potentially, I realized the reason. For some reason, from 1.15, my front got to 0.9, and the rear from 1.3 got to 1.1. I didn't saw punctures directly on the tire, but probably I had some of them. And that kind of explains why I just was not able to maintain the speed. Probably it wouldn't have been enough to finish 5 hours something, but it still drained a bit of energy as well as cost a bit more time in the set. Other than that, the race course was brilliant, maybe a bit too lengthy for this type of time stretch, but in general it was really nice. It's worth mentioning that the one from Ford Marathon finished this race in 4 hours 20 minutes or something like that. There is a bit of difference to do only single stage race event. I'm not trying to align with Fabian Reibensteiner for sure, but yeah, that gives you a bit of a clue the difference between pros and amateurs. And the one who finished first from the trophy was 5 hours 7 minutes something. So yeah, it took me almost 1 hour from the leader, which is a lot. Oh, about Antoine. So picture this. The guy who I knew from YouTube, who wrote some very interesting comments under my videos, wrote me, hey, could you pick my bib number because I will be late and I won't be on time there. I said, sure, no problems. You need to send me your passport, UCI license, and that's pretty much it. Oh, and locator where his bib number can be found. And he did. What that shows to me, well, probably that I'm the guy who can you trust. And not only that, Antoine had significant results from this year's events, but he was put in third wave, so I did my best to talk with UCI referees to put him in the first wave, which I did. So we met in the morning, 7 a.m. in the dark for the first time. We greet, I gave him the starting package, and later in the finish line we met up where Antoine was faster, like 15-20 minutes ahead of me. So yeah, well job man, and it was nice to meet you. Unfortunately, somehow I forgot to capture the image of us after the finish, but who knows, maybe we'll meet in Montreal stage race or maybe in the Alps Epic if I lose some weight. Yeah, 82 kilograms guy. The races where we have to climb a lot is not exactly for my taste, nor for my ass, nor for my legs, nor for everything, but I still partially enjoy them. Is it our last time here? Why we've been here? Because I didn't have gels. And almost all days I tried every single day different gels. Not good, not good. My apologies to sponsor. Not sponsored by sponsor, but merci. Si?
Si.
Si, merci. Step by step we came to the fourth stage, and this time it was a proper time trial. The 1 minute gaps between the first 30 participants released in reverse order, meaning that 13th starts first and the one who is first in GC starts the last. Then others starts at 15 seconds intervals without any particular order. At the start I had a bit of conversation with UCI official who apparently said that camera is dangerous, it's dangerous for you. Thankfully he talked in English.
Caméra ici c'est dangereux. Hein? In English? It's dangerous for you. The camera.
For me, I mean, I'm riding with it all the time, no worries.
It's dangerous. It's for you.
Yep, it's all on me. Absolutely. Yep.
At the end of the day, it's just time trial, uphill. What can happen wrong? Before the start announcer said something in French, public cheered up a bit, and it was like a boost where I forgot literally anything for a moment, and I went 600 watts into, I don't know, 30 seconds time frame, where after that Lex told me, all right, big boy, it's time to go down. And it was like a very hard time. Fast things forward, I was not able to catch literally anyone, which was a bit disappointing, but I was relieved when after initial climb there was tiny downhill. My decision to not go too much air pressure paid off like for 2 minutes or so, and then it was all suffering. Funny thing is that I checked few participants on Strava, and one of those added 30 PCI, which means he added significant amount of air, shall we say, and he was, let's say, surprised when he noticed that there is a bit of downhill as well, but you can survive downhill and lose a few seconds here and there, but on the climb, with such air pressure, for sure you will get a benefit. So I was really slow there, and if someone who started behind me, meaning that we are faster guys, catched me, they were like rocket fuel ahead, who started 2 positions behind, so he already managed to cut 2 minutes from me. He was in front, I was literally trying not to die coming after him, and he probably expected that I will go in front, but I just had literally nothing to offer, and then he showed me this and went ahead. Sorry Andrea, I had literally nothing to offer to you. And actually at that moment my heart rate peaked. It was really low considering that it's 4th day stage. Somehow I was expecting that we will have very steep section at the top where you have to give it all, but apparently it was exactly the same uphill which we did like 1 day ago, yes, on 3rd stage, and that was it. That duration of 11 kilometers ended like poof, 30 few minutes and it's done. Here are 3 tips for time trial on MTB. First, add a lot of pressure to your tires, but at the same time be thoughtful in case there are some sketchy areas in the course. Second, go full gas and don't look back. And the third, don't take 2 water bottles, even though they are not full, but why in the hell in the world you need that, Thomas? Last but not least, once we reached the summit, we had to go down. I somewhat planned to cut it in the middle to reach the Frejus faster, but I met few people who said that, hey, there are some race in front and you shouldn't do that, and I went down and I appeared in the Rockbrune again, so that means I just added like 10 kilometers additional distance into the overall mileage of the week.
Can I go there? In the single track. Could I go in the single track down?
Geographically, you can.
Yeah. I mean, it's up to me.
Up to you.
Yeah, I would want to.
So that's it.
Non, il faut pas. Là,
Yeah.
là, il y a une course là-bas.
So he says it is the special for the
Il y a un
for the
parcours
races.
là-bas.
Today there is some race happening. Okay, got it. Thanks.
But if you take this piece,
Uh-huh.
you can go there.
No, I will go that way then. Yeah, thanks a lot, guys.
On to you.
Cheers.
The fifth day was nothing different except the fact that there were more than 2,000 participants in this. So it's 55 kilometers, 1.3 or 4K of elevation, and it's like the main event of the whole festival. So it's on Sunday. There were a lot of people and there were a lot of mess in the starting gates, where potentially we should have started 8:30, but we've been standing in the gates almost until 9. So some decision has been made to allow elite riders first, then there was huge time frame. Everyone was standing in the gates, stressing and all that stuff. I would say that some behave like wild in these conditions before the start even takes place. Just how the testosterone works when it's crowded place and everyone is expecting to go to the start as soon as possible. So in total we've been standing like almost an hour before the gate. It was also a bit chilly. However, you can see that I cut the number a bit. It was just to prevent number going into the camera, because on the fifth stage I put the camera on the handlebars because, well, it's main event. UCI officials already spotted me and was not too happy about that. And the reason why I don't like to put on the bike is because the weight is on the front and you definitely can feel it when it's like half kilo on your front of the bikes. Other than that, I also like chesty view a bit more, but what can you do?
You'll start in 30 seconds. C'est parti! Allez!
The start in such massive events is, as always, stressful. Everyone is trying to get the better position for them, etc. There's one thing which I always try to convey, that squeezing into non-existing space or just going in front of others at the expense of their experience, it's not making you smarter, it just shows that you have bad habits. That's what I say, that's also what I have in my mind. It could be actually even avoided if there's a narrow section in front. There's no point of you going more in front and causing even more jams. I could accept this behavior if those people just disappear in front, meaning that they're really stronger and they did that on purpose to go faster in front. But then on the first flat stretch you overtake them like nothing, it means that they were just the ones who introduced a moment ago. This time, if the number was without 11, it started from 1, I guess, and ended like 2,000 something. So that means that those participants been doing only a single day, and among those were also pros like Jordan Saru, which is local hero here, as well as few other known names. So yeah, those events attract a lot of participants, and you can imagine that among 2,000 something participants there were a lot of them. A few kilometers from the start there was a crash where the guy slipped on the fast corner. Actually on stage 3 I almost did the same thing, because it was like off camber a bit on the tarmac, and if you keep on pedaling you can hit the pedal, which I did, but I was just a bit more lucky on that area. He wasn't and he fell off. But in general, what I noticed on the stage, everyone are very fast on the uphills where only power matters, but the thing changes when you go into the descending, where not only power matters, and power is zero actually when it comes to technique. That's where I managed to flourish once again. And the overall feeling about this stage, you know that saying, sometimes I'm good, sometimes I'm shit. So it was exactly the same thing. I really suffered in some places, where on the others I just went full gas and felt brilliant. So it was love and hate on this stage. It's worth mentioning that there was one climb where were a lot of spectators who cheered and did all sorts of crazy things. It's very rare for amateur to experience this type of atmosphere. And I can tell you that even though I was almost literally busted by that time, it was a boost of energy for like 15 seconds, maybe 30 at the most. where I went like 600 watts. Of course, at the end of the day, it was really painful. The reason why I point this is that something to experience for everyone, because there is one thing where on the local races you guys shout something, and there is just a different thing when you go up or down through the crowds of people. So yeah, that's something nice. Towards the end of the race, I didn't felt well on the descents. Maybe it was just fatigue or something else, I don't know, but I allowed you guys to go ahead and just continued on my own pace, and that pace was not enough to keep with them. I was not exactly sure how the race will finish, meaning weather configuration will be different from previous days. So my surprise was exactly the same as on stage 1 as well as stage 3. So that was a bit disappointing. I expected some new kilometers in general. Also, maybe that's the reason why GPXs are not shared, is that you can get the sense then that a lot of places intersect with each other if you go stage race. If you go only single day event, that doesn't matter that much, but in some areas we went like 3 times through the single areas. You can see this map where it's on Wales, how many times we went through each part. So that's something to consider if you want unique kilometers over stage race. There are pros and cons to go through the same path over the stage race. In some cases you can just go faster, but at the same time, in my opinion, it just reduces the quality of the overall event if you go through the same path 3 times. But that's just my take on the topic. In the last 3 kilometers, I decided to go full gas to at least finish the 2024 season in style. It was not about positions, time, or whatever. It was about knowing that you gave it all. So it was good to experience that, and I managed to catch one guy who actually did Superman at the finish. But yeah, I just gave it all and forgot about it, even though it's not necessarily means anything in general, but it's just a good feeling to dig deeper. And that's what I did. All in all, in Masters 35 category, I managed to finish 6th out of 26 participants. And in GC, I've been 19th out of 230 something who finished GC. It's worth mentioning that in the beginning, there were 312 participants. In GC, on the last stage, there were only 230 something. So that means 1/4 of participants just went out of GC. However, on the last stage, there were almost 280. That means not all of them disappeared from the race completely, but some, due to technical or some other issues, were not able to finish all of the stages. That means they disappeared from GC. Would I repeat this race? Probably not back to back. There are almost none of those races which I do this way, except Costa Blanca bike race, which I'm going to participate in 2025, as well as I did it this year. Other than that, is Rock d'Azur worth it? Absolutely. Should you go for a stage race or a single event? It's up to you how much suffering you want to endure. I would say that it wouldn't be a bad idea to come only in few of those stage races, like 2nd, 3rd if you want to suffer a lot, and the 5th one, because the race courses intersect with each other quite a lot, so that's something to consider. However, if you want to experience that stage race atmosphere, as well as do different type of racing like individual time trial, then stage race is definitely up to you. Make sure to leave something in your legs towards the end of the season, because otherwise it will be a hard time. As always, there are onboards on YouTube where you can find all of those videos, in almost all of them in full duration, except the stage 3, which took too long time for me to finish. But other than that, that's how Rock d'Azur as well as 2024 season has ended. Will we meet in 2025? Absolutely. If we're going to meet in 2024 still to cover tires, nutrition, as well as spark things, you have guessed it, surely. That's it. Thanks a lot for your time, and I hope to see you around.